All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of A Couple of Subs. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Cody Crane. With me, as always, my lovely co-host, Kristen Crane, aka Kiki.
What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Couple of Subs. So on this episode today, we have the privilege of interviewing Cory Lee with Cory Lee Leadership. And on this episode, Cory's going to be talking about how he started his company, the benefits of hiring a leadership consultant, and other services that he provides. So let's just dive right on into this thing. Welcome to the show, Cory.
Awesome. Hey, Cody and Kristen, or Kiki. Yeah.
There you go.
I appreciate the opportunity to hop on. I'm really looking forward to adding value. So thank you guys for allowing me to come on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's nice to finally meet you. I've heard a lot about you. I know that you've been working with Cody and the team at FL Crane for several months now. So nice to put a face with the name.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Hey, actually, before I dive on into this, could you tell our listeners a little bit about those posters behind you there?
Those posters behind the posters behind me. So a couple of them come from a couple of trainings that I do. One of them, the big elephant back there, it says dreams way more than excuses. And on one end you have the elephant, and on the other end you can't really see it, but it's a little butterfly. And then the spaceman, it says, how is the sky the limit when there are footprints on the moon? And I do this training where I think you've heard me kind of have this little blip right there, Cody, where we talk about setting goals and dreams and visions, those kind of things. And if you ever doubt your ability to bring that forward, just kind of go outside and look up at night and look at the moon and realize that there are footprints on that moon. And I saw the other day, there were 3D printing hearts, for heart transplants, which is amazing.
Wow.
And that's crazy. And I say, I don't know about you guys, but the goals that I'm going after can't be as difficult as figuring out how to put a man on the moon or how to 3D print a heart. And anyway, it's a part of a speech that I give. And I saw that and I was like, man, I got to have that. So anyway, that's where those come from.
Well, that's awesome. It's always nice to keep something like that, right at your side where it reminds you, I guess, right in your face type deal.
That's right. Yeah. It keeps it forefront of mind,
So Cory, you and I have got to spend some time together over Zoom and things like that here lately. But tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your background, your family, tell us about Cory Lee.
Yeah. So born and raised in North Mississippi. I was raised at an early age by my mom and my grandmother. My wife and I met in junior high. She's not on the Zoom call. She is downstairs, but I can say, since she's not on the Zoom call, she begged me to go to 8th grade prom with her. And, we've been together since then, and awesome. We've moved around the country a little bit, lived in Phoenix, Arizona, and moved back here, and always kind of had this dream my background is actually in physical therapy, and I always had this dream to open up our own physical therapy clinic. And we didn't only want to do physical therapy, but really try to make an impact in a community. So we opened up gyms and physical therapy clinics. And in a 5-year period of time, we built 2 physical therapy clinics, 4 gyms, had 3 kids, sold all the businesses and kept all the kids. And I transitioned into doing the leadership coaching, training, and consulting type stuff that I do now. And it's awesome. I love doing that.
And how many years?
In 5 years. Yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's
during that time, you don't even realize it. It's just, you're just going.
Yeah.
And then when you reflect back, it's like, wow, okay.
That's
crazy.
Productive 5 years there.
All the way around, right? Yeah.
And you and your wife are doing that together, right?
We were, yes. She's a physical therapist, and I'm a physical therapist assistant, and we were doing that together. And it was an awesome time, awesome thing. We opened up our first PT clinic in a town of 1,100 people. 1,100 people. And within that 5 years, when we sold that one the one was billing out a little over $2 million a year in that town of 1,100 people. So, it was awesome. And the impact we had and all that kind of good stuff. It was fun.
Yeah. Well, so when did it click with you and your wife, to get out of that and, to start your own leadership consulting company? When did that click for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So absolutely loved it, right? I love business, love the PT stuff, love the gym stuff, all of that. And there was a point in time where I was doing, I would be at the gym from about 4:30 until about 7:30. And then I would walk over to our physical therapy clinic. I'd be there from about 8 to about 4:30. And then I'd walk back over to the gym. And from about 4:30 to 8:30 at night, I would be at the gym. And I can remember one day I was telling our oldest son at the time, good night, and it was at 4:30. And he looked up at me. He was probably about 3 or 4 at that time. And he said, "Daddy, you going to your house?" And it hit me that I was spending way too much time doing the work stuff. And honestly, that's where I started understanding what leadership is and understanding how to empower and how to equip. And you don't have to do everything. You got talented people around you, let them do their thing. And for me also, honestly, to really answer your question, Kristen, was I'm a person of faith, and I had let it get all out of the wrong priority order. And God said, you got to let it go. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes, especially something you really love, I tried to negotiate and said, "Hey, I'll put it back. It's all right. I'll put it back." And he's like, "No, you got to let it go." And that's what we did. And scary decision at that time, but it's been absolutely awesome.
Okay. Well, kind of give us a little bit of what all do you do through your company now?
Yeah. So what I like to do is my little tagline I say is build businesses and develop leaders. So anything to do with building people. I've heard people talk about, I want to build a big business. Well, I love building big people. I love coming alongside leaders. And that was really the key. It was a vague thought that I had of that's what I wanted to do is develop leaders, because I know as you work with leaders, that impact is going to go down further throughout the company. So work with companies, develop a leadership culture, and then also work one-on-one with leaders through coaching, mentorship. I have some men's mastermind groups and speaking. I do some speaking type stuff too. So anything around building people, I'm a yes to, Kristen, when it comes to that.
Well, is it just men that you're coaching and everything, or is it women as well?
Yeah. So all the above. So okay. Men and women. I have the men's group, and what that is kind of a mastermind group. And what that spun off was one of the things that frustrated me about as an entrepreneur when I was in my business is I could go to the courses, the seminars, the webinars, all those kind of things, but I didn't have anybody that I could go to and ask questions, or I didn't have a group of guys that I could go to who understood what I was going through, who understood, some of the temptations or the struggles, or even the ideas that I had, who could speak into that, who could hold me accountable and all those kind of things. So I had created that a little bit earlier on, specifically for guys, for those kind of things. But I definitely work with women. There's some awesome women leaders who could probably run circles around some guys. And so definitely work with men and women. Yeah.
So I know whenever in those groups you're talking about, your focus is kind of like in 5 key areas, which is faith, family, our leadership, faith, family, and fitness and finance. So, and that kind of encompasses your legacy builders group. So yes, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and that's that men's mastermind group right there. And I kind of didn't want it to, whenever I created it again, didn't want it to just be about business, because what I found in myself too is just exactly what my son said. He said, "Daddy, you going to your house," right? Like, it's so easy to get caught up in the things that you enjoy doing that you lose sight of the things that are most important. And I think many times as leaders, we can easily easily do that. So it would have been nice if I had somebody early on to say, hey, I know this is what you want to do, but kind of be guardrails as well and say, hey, I see if you keep going down this route, I can see you doing this. So kind of created that. And what we do is we meet once a week. We read a book for the month. We meet once a week and we go around celebrating wins together, which is a big challenge, those kind of things. And in the middle of that, one guy gets into what I call the growth seat each week, and they bring their topic, their idea, their struggle, whatever they got, they bring the topic. And then you got 10 to 15 other guys helping them think into that and create a solution. And that's been pretty awesome. And then we'll kind of wrap up with what are you committing to this group to between now and next week? And we'll follow up on the following week. So it's been really good to build those relationships, but hold people accountable and up level ideas too.
So where like that, it's kind of very structured the way that you do things. And like you said, you have one guy kind of in the hot seat each week. So where did that kind of structure come from? Is that something you just kind of thought would work, or you seen it before, or how did that come about?
Yeah, that's good. So actually I've taken bits and pieces from other things that I've seen and what I think would really work, and really still trying to tinker with some of that too. It's a work in progress. I do think structure is important, but I think Cody and I may be about the same. I don't like too much structure. I don't like the same old same. I don't like status quo. So I always kind of changing up, tinkering to see what is ideal to add the most value. So it is loosely structured from things I've experienced and just trial and error,
Just taking bits and pieces here and there and
Yeah.
building something out of that.
Yeah. Just take it and take some pieces and let's see what works.
So I know, of course, we've been talking for the last few months, and FL Crane, a majority of our employees, you've taken and broken down into specific groups. And each one of those groups is kind of at a different stage in your program, which is phenomenal. In my opinion, I love it. I look forward to every Tuesday at 8:30. But so tell us a little bit about, like, is there a plan behind how you break those teams down and kind of how they fall in order and the way you do things, or is it just kind of dealing with what you got and figuring it out as you go, or how do you do that?
Yeah, I think that's another great question. So anytime I kind of come into a company, one of the things I like to do is I get a better understanding of them, what their challenges are, what their opportunities are too. And just kind of get a feel for what's going on in their environment. And I was talking to your brother one day, and he just mentioned, hey, I'd love to come up with, he didn't know exactly what it was, but he had a thought of like some kind of leadership pathway, something. And I just sat down, and after the conversation, I just sat down and say, I'd gotten to know a little bit about him and some of the guys on the team and what would be ideal for them. So what I did was I just came up with a 6-month program where it started off with personal growth, working on personal growth principles, and we personal leadership principles. And then, okay, now I understand that. Now, how do I develop leaders? And then now how do I develop a team? And that was kind of what I did. And I just thought through that, and we pieced it together from there too. So it's still a work in progress, but I really enjoy it as well. Absolutely love it.
Well, it's been phenomenal for FL Crane, and I can see the way that the employees have taken what they've learned. Now that some of them were ahead of me, because I wasn't in that first group. So now that I'm learning what they have learned in the months past, I can kind of pinpoint, like, oh, you're doing that because you learned that from Cory Lee. Like,
Yeah.
that's straight out of his playbook. I can watch it happen.
That means it's working.
Yeah.
That's funny. I heard somebody else say that the other day. He was in your group, but he mentioned one of the other guys on his team. Now I see what you're doing. But I tell you, the most awesome thing that I've probably heard about 2 or 3 people mention is that they said, you know what, my spouse is even told me the change that I see. And to me, that's awesome. Yeah, I just think that's awesome.
Well, hey, I have a question. Do you feel like the skills that it takes to be a leader differ from industry to industry?
I think some of the principles still apply. I think how those are carried out may be different, right? Like some of the principles along communicating and leadership, all those kind of things still apply, but how you actually implement might be slightly different. And just kind of give you an example. So I had a church ask me to come in and do some leadership stuff. And I have a beer company ask me to come in and do stuff, right? That's totally kind of different, right? Maybe. But I still teach the same principles, but even the way I translate it is slightly different in those two settings, and how they will carry out the principles will be slightly different in their particular settings. But principles, I think, will remain the same. I think that's a great question too, though. Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, and actually we've never met in person, only over Zoom, but I feel like I've talked to you long enough that, you know, your personality can play to a beer company or a church. Like you can handle the situation and deal with that and convey the same lesson, you know, either way. And I feel like that's you know, an invaluable asset to
It's a
anyone.
leadership quality.
Yeah.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go, Kristen.
Thank you.
I was thinking church.
I am a Christian, yes. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Well, so we also had another question too, like, you know, with COVID and everything, do you feel like COVID has kind of changed the way that you like approach leadership?
That's I love that question. That is a great question. You know, I think one of the things leaders do is, even one of the things we've talked about in our courses, is that one of the things leaders can do is create momentum. And a manager kind of can keep the ship going when things are nice and smooth and all those kind of things. And when there's a challenge arise, that's when we need leaders. If there's no challenges, then we don't need leaders. I think COVID causes leaders to stand up. I think that's when you get to see, who do I have? I think there's a misconception about leaders too, is that they always have the answer and know exactly what to do. And I don't think that's the case. Leaders are the ones that are willing to initiate and to say something needs to be done. Let's figure it out. And I think COVID really lets us see who the real leaders are, and instead of maybe just manager, or, you know, not saying either one's bad, but when we're talking about that, I think challenges like COVID helps you see who the real leaders are, and who's willing to step up and try to make tough decisions. You know, I got all kind of books right over here. I got all kind of books downstairs. There is no book on how to lead during COVID 2019, 2020. So it's something somebody's never, ever done.
You should write one.
Yeah, we should write one. That's the one I should write on.
That's your next project.
Yeah, that's right. One of the things I said last year is what I love. I said, I think there's awesome opportunity here. I really do. Because what it is, it brings everybody back to the starting line. There's like this reset. Like, you know, maybe somebody who's been in the game for a long time, well, they have to come back. They've got to come back to the starting line now. And it's a great reset. It's a great opportunity. And within opportunities like that, there's a lot of uncertainty, and uncertainty causes people to fear, and sometimes fear causes people not to act. But leaders will kind of push through that. They don't feel like you have to get it right, get it perfect, but they're willing to think through it and try new things. And I think that's what's required during this season. So
that's what it made me think of my brother, actually. He, you know, we're partners in business, and also best friends, brothers. But you were saying leaders step up, and something that he did, and actually y'all were, I think y'all were meeting once a month or something before COVID. And I don't know if that kind of gave him the edge to think about this or what, but I bet at least a year. But like whenever everything was going good, like business was booming, you know, that's whenever a lot of people get relaxed.
Yeah.
Ty, my brother, did not. He was looking for every way to kind of get lean and mean. He was planning for a downfall. He's like, things are too good. It ain't gonna last. We need to be prepared right now for the bottom to fall out of this thing because good times don't always keep rolling. So, yeah, I don't know if that's something he learned from you, but talking about kind of the situation of COVID, it made certain leaders stand out. You know, they were the ones that stood up and figured things out. And it really blows my mind that, you know, old brother, he was thinking about that a year before it did fall out. And I don't know that I just feel like, you know, him talking to you and stuff kind of had him on the forefront of that.
Well, you know, there's nothing too special about me on that. And we had been talking, I guess, since 2018, I guess, on a consistent basis. But, you know, or maybe 19, maybe, but yeah, maybe it's 19. But, you know, you're talking about him thinking through those kind of things, and the power of coaching are really what I do. So I have a coach as well, right? So really the true secret sauce power to that is having somebody where you have a space to really think. Like most of us were busy, right? We were super busy, and we have a hard time having a space to actually think, and somebody listen into that who's not going to, one, judge, but also has your best interest in mind. I've found most people, and I love people, right? Most people don't have anybody in their lives outside of maybe their spouse or mom and dad who truly want their success just as much as they want their success. And I think that's the key. If anybody out there is interested in being a coach, I don't know, but that's the key to success, is offering somebody a platform to get those ideas out. You pull it out, but truly wanting their success just as much as they want their success. And when you have somebody like that, you can think through stuff. Maybe it doesn't come out the mouth right, or maybe it's not fully fleshed out, but you know, it's a safe place to do that kind of good stuff. And when you do that, you never know some awesome ideas that'll come out of that. So
that's what you know, one of the lessons you taught me is I do it, you watch me. You do it, I watch you. You do it, and then let someone else watch you, you know. And I kind of saw that come through my brother a little bit. Like he would, like, hey, come sit in on this, and then be like, all right, hey, do this. And so I kind of, you know, that was what I was talking about earlier. So like I saw what you were teaching once I learned it. I was like, oh, that's what he was doing. But so where I was getting at with that is, so you're coaching us, and like you said, you have a coach also. Do you think it would be beneficial for people to go find someone to just kind of take under their wing and kind of be that coach for them, almost?
Yeah. So having a coach, or really you can call it coach or mentor or a friend or accountability, somebody, right? Somebody that, again, that's going to be a true friend, and a true friend, somebody that come put their arm around you when you need it and kick you in the rear when you need that too, you know, out of love, right? But being that to somebody else as well. I think that's a huge gap in kind of culture today, is we get so caught up in our own world. And there are a lot of, I see it in generational, you know, like an older person coming down and meeting somebody kind of middle age or younger, and then that person reaching out into the youngest of generations and taking them under their wing. There's power in that, you know, power in coming alongside of people. So whether it's coaching somebody or mentoring, or just being a true friend to somebody and saying, hey, I love you. It's not as bad as you think, or hey, you're not living up to the expectations I think you can do. I think I've shared this before, but I came up with a leader's definition of accountability, Kristen. Here it is. All right. So leader's definition of accountability is holding somebody account or holding people account to their ability, giving account to their ability, right? Not their inability, but their ability. And I think that's what a leader is supposed to do.
Yeah,
Help people give account to their ability. So
Very well said. I like that.
no doubt.
Well, so what is your advice? You had mentioned this earlier. What is your advice to people who are out there listening to this that are kind of have that in them too? Like, you know what, I could do that. I could be someone's coach. What's your advice to them?
Yeah. I think go out and do it, man. Just jump on out there, find you somebody. And if you're going to be a good coach, it starts with the heart, right? You can go get there's all kind of trainings, there's conferences, books, whatever you want to do to get trained up to do it. But it starts in the heart. You got to care for people. If you don't care for people, you're going to come with your agenda and not theirs. So it's not about you. But hey, I think the world needs more people to come alongside other people who care about them and their agenda and help them to reach it. So I say, go on out there, get on out there.
Just do it, huh?
Yeah, just do it.
Well, so also in the beginning of the podcast, you were talking about how your little boy said, "You go into your house, Dad," or whatever. So I also have a question as far as what is your advice to people both personally and professionally, how to keep that work-life balance?
Yeah. Oh, that's another great question. Balance. I think first and foremost, you have to sit back and say, what is most important? You have to get that clear up front too. So if I say for myself, faith and family are most important, and work and all that other stuff, that it's all down here. I have to understand that too. But then also, I think being completely balanced all the time, it's just it's not a reality. So I like the harmony type thing. I remember I think it's Dave Ramsey talking when he was starting his business. He started the financial peace stuff, and he said they started on their kitchen table. And one of the things he told his family was, "Hey, for a season, Daddy's going to be gone for a good bit, but I want you to know this is just a season, and this is the day that it's going to end." So they gave an end date, and there was a celebration. We're going to go do this. So I think keeping all of that, keeping it forefront of mind, what is most important, but also know that there are seasons where, hey, this season I'm focused on my health. This season it is a work season, but that needs to be communicated to those people who are most important to you, and let them give some input as well, and let them know that it is just a season. And if it's not a season, they've got the power to call you out. So yeah. So I think balance is maybe not necessarily a reality, but being in harmony with what you feel like is most important is key.
I've never heard it put that way before.
Oh.
That was that was perfect. I like the way that you worded that for sure. That helped me out really.
I was going to
Because
say,
I've never been really good at doing the whole work-life balance. Balance is not the right word. You're right.
it's harmony.
Yeah.
And you kind of like halfway through that explanation, I thought you said season, and that just made me think of baseball and professionals. And, I've heard numerous times that, to get to that top level, to be a professional baseball player or a professional, fighter or something, there's a little bit of selfishness that has to take place there, because if you're always worried about everybody else, you can't spend enough time on yourself to get to that level. But like you just said, the balance is kind of unrealistic. It's you need to communicate and just, hey, this is where I'm going. This is what I feel like is best for us as a family. What do you think? And kind of go off of that.
Yeah, that family communication is truly key as well. And your spouse, they love you and support you 100%, right? Like they want to see you do good, but many times I know us guys, especially driven guys, we got somewhere we're going and we don't communicate that. And a lot of times when we communicate that our wives or spouses, they may have an idea that'll even help with that in fully support mode, and I think communication is key. Yeah.
I do too.
Right,
For sure.
Kristen?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, there you go.
That's another thing you and I might have to work on me. I'm not the best communicator.
I get it out of him though. I do.
He asks a lot of questions, so that does help.
Yeah, there you go. Good stuff.
Well, Cory, so today we talked about, how you got yourself into this leadership, building leaders role, and how you came about the conclusion to start this business, and the way the kind of the key areas that you like to focus on when you're building leaders. And we've talked about family and work-life balance. Is there anything else that just kind of jumps off the top of your head? Like, is there something else you'd like to leave our listeners with today?
One thing you said right there about starting the business that I do now, man, I didn't even know there was such thing as a business like this, honestly. Seriously. We sold the business, and all I knew I wanted to work with leaders. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know anybody who did it. I didn't even know you could make any kind of money at it. And so this is just kind of super quick, funny story. And I tried everything to get something off the ground. It wasn't working. Nothing worked. So one of the best things that I ever did was I created this 45-minute lunch and learn, and I hired a cold caller. I hired a guy on Fiverr to cold call for me. And I gave him a list of every real estate office in Tennessee, Alabama, North Mississippi. And I said, hey, call all these people and see if they'll let me come in and do a free lunch and learn. And what I realized was that I'd never spoken before, and I had to get good, right? You got to get good first. Many times we want to go from here to here all in one leap. My son, he says he wants to be a professional soccer player. And I said, well, that's great. And he said, well, I want to today. I said, man, you 7. We got some things we need to learn, right? And we all have that mentality of, I want to go from here to here, but there's a growth process in the middle. And for me, I had to get good first. And I spent probably 2 or 3 years doing things for free, trying to get good. And so I guess, I don't know where that came from. It just popped into my mind, but maybe there's somebody out there that they're trying to get something going, and just stay with it, man. That perseverance right there is key. And even Cody, you had mentioned earlier, success, sometimes it causes us to be complacent. When we get complacent, we're robbing other people, and our complacency will keep other people from maybe achieving or even making an impact even greater. So don't be complacent and just persevere. So, yeah.
I love it. Good advice, Cory.
You can't go wrong with that.
Well, before we get out of here, tell our listeners where they can go to find out more about you and your company and how they can hire you to come and speak.
Yeah.
And your podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the podcast. Yeah, we've got a little bit of a podcast called Principles with Cory and Logan, and I'd love to take a listen to that. Or if anybody wants to be on there, I'd love to hear your story. But probably the best way to reach out to me is I'm on social media, all the platforms, Cory Lee or Cory Lee Leadership. But I have also created just a straight up landing page for your listeners that they could go to. And I got 2 free downloads. All right. 2 free downloads. Here's the website. It's CoryLeeLeadership.com. So CORY LeeLeadership.com/couple. So COUPLE couple. CoryLeeLeadership.com/couple. And on there's 2 free downloads. The first one is it's like a wheel of life. We talked about balance. So you can kind of see where you're at on that wheel, where you at balanced wise, are you in harmony and all that. And then the other one, Cody and Kristen, you got to do this. It is a a spousal survey. So it's a survey. You go in there, you hand it to your spouse, and they fill it out. You fill out one for them, and it's just the goal there is to create awesome communication between the spouse. So yeah, free
I know
downloads
what
right
we're
there. For
doing
you.
after this.
No, we're gonna leave that one out there for the listeners. So will you know who gets who wins the downloads?
Yes, there'll be a thing that kind of tells me, and to get that, you kind of have to click the link, and it'll ask you for an email and those kind of things. But none of your other information. But on there, it's also got links to my social media, YouTube, all that good stuff. If you want to check in.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yes. Please let us know who wins. I'd love to reach out to them and maybe talk to them a little bit about what they learned out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys.
Well, thank you so much,
you,
Cory. This
Cory.
has been awesome. I know Kristen she's heard a lot about you.
I have, yes. Been like
I've heard a lot of great.
or something like that.
At least, yeah, probably.
All right, Cory. Well, thanks for being on our show.
Thank you so much. And to the listeners out there, if you like what you heard today, please reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, all the social medias.
YouTube, our website, all the things. Yeah. Just like, subscribe, share, and reach out to us if you have anybody else in mind that you feel like would be great to be on our podcast. Reach out, let us know, and we'll get them on the show. All right. Till next time.
Thank you, Cory.
Thank you guys.
Have a good one, brother.
Thank y'all.